Alright guys, unfortunately a lot more bad news for the E55. I was at the track yesterday and, well, the car basically blew the engine. Now I know my friends are already making fun of me that I modified a car and I blew the engine, but actually this problem was not related to any of the mods. It was actually related to oil pressure. I believe the car lost oil pressure while going through a corner, and basically, yeah, the car just, one of the connecting rods just came apart and just went through the block, and that basically destroyed the whole engine. Now I'm going to be taking this engine apart really soon, so I'll get to know whatever happened, but yeah, there's not really any nice way to put this, so I'll just let you guys see whatever happened, and then later I'll get on to what I think caused it and what I'm going to do next with the car. So yeah, here's all the videos I have from yesterday, which will pretty much give you an idea of what happened. So just to give you guys a quick overview of what happened over the last few weeks, I took the car out on the track a week ago, and at that point I didn't have the tune quite figured, so that track they went really bad. The car was cutting power, it was going into limp mode, it was sometimes leaning out the air fuel mixtures, so that track they went really bad. But this time I decided to try a few different tunes out on the track, and one of my friends was actually with me and he gave me a few suggestions on how to get the whole thing working. And this time everything did actually work, and the car wasn't cutting power, the car was actually working perfectly normally, and we were only at low boost right now. We were at 9 or 10 psi. Previously we had tested the car all the way to 15 psi and the car ran perfectly even at 15 psi. But right now we were just trying to get the tune right before we could actually up the boost and work on our lap times. So at this point we weren't even wearing our helmets, we were just casually driving around the track, just making sure everything was normal, all the tune was normal, all the values were normal. And even driving casually around the track, the car was doing 122s. 122 lap times. So yeah, I think there is no doubt that if we upped the boost and put a bit more effort into it, the car could have easily been in the 119s that track day. But unfortunately that didn't happen because I think this was our third time out or fourth time out, and things just went horribly wrong. From inside the car we couldn't hear anything, but from outside the car it's actually pretty obvious what happened. So here's the video of the first out lap. So the car was basically at the end of the first lap when this video was made. And everything sounds perfectly normal at that point, so there's no noises from the engine, everything is normal. Now this is the video after the second lap. So maybe in this video you can hear just a bit of rod knock when the car is going through the corner, just at some points. But now listen to the video from the third lap, just listen to the way the engine sounds. I think it's pretty obvious to tell in that video that by this point the rod bearings had gone completely, and the problem was that from inside the car we couldn't hear any of that. This is basically what the car sounded like from the inside, and yeah, there was basically no indication that there was something going on. Whether we had, and all the values looked normal too, so that's why we didn't stop the car, we kept driving because we didn't know at that point that there was something going on. So yeah, right after that corner, this was the next corner that we went into, and yeah, basically I'll just let you guys watch everything that happened. What the hell happened? What the hell happened? What the hell happened? Holy shit.
You okay, dude? You okay?
It's over.
You okay, dude?
It's over.
What's over?
It's over.
Your life's not over. We're gonna make a new car. Don't worry. We're gonna get an LS and then turbocharge it.
He's referring to the Beamer lady.
Here, look at the bright. We have the piece that fell out. We can JB weld it and see if it runs.
Oh my god.
Try cranking it over.
It's not a Miata, you can't JB weld it together.
Oh, let's crank a JB weld it, put someone used to. The thing is, the Miata motor doesn't blow, it doesn't matter how you.
So yeah, unfortunately that was really the worst day ever. The most disappointing part is that, well, I had put in a lot of effort over the last few weeks. I had just, I had fixed all the ABS issues that the car had. I changed the reluctor ring, one of the ABS sensors, fixed the lifter tick for the most part. It was gone mostly, but it would still come in sometimes. And well, figured most of the tune out too, because that took a lot of effort figuring the tune. It would cut power sometimes, and Now finally everything was working, and the car, for the first time after such a long time, it was doing consistent lap times, like lap after lap. It was running perfectly normal, all the values were fine, everything was good. But I think the thing that really screwed us over was this was the first time that the car was running on slicks with all the downforce, because I had used these tires on this car before, but that was before I had any of the downforce modifications, so the splitter and the rear wing. But what happened last week was one of my stupid friends, I let him drive the car and he blew my tires, he blew the Pirellis. He hit a bump really hard and tires basically exploded. So that's why I moved back to these BF Goodrich tires, which were, I would say, a lot grippier than the Pirelli tires. And the combination of these tires and the downforce was just brutal. The car was pulling a whole lot of G-force through the corners. So around the braking zones we were going around 1.7 Gs, and in the corners we were going, some of the faster corners we were going 1.4 Gs. So there was a lot of G-force, and basically I think that's what basically caused the engine, like all the oil of the engine just going to one side of the engine during the corners, and that's why the engine was starving on oil during the corners. And this is not oil level related or anything else, because I know the car burns a lot of oil when it's at the track, so I usually top up the oil every time in between laps. So every time the car comes in, I always check the oil level and I top it up to like the optimum level. And I did top up the car even leaving before that time, so there's no way the car could have burnt so much oil in 3 laps that it went low on oil or something. There was no oil warning lights, and there was no warning at all. Like everything was normal, but the car was definitely starving on oil, judging by that video, because there's no way a car can destroy its bearings within 3 laps. It just doesn't happen. There's no way that rod bearings could just go in a matter of 3 laps and then blow a connecting rod out of the engine. So it has to be something related to the oil, like the engine not getting enough oil. And I think I'll find out more about that when I take the engine apart, because if there's more scoring on all the other connecting rods and bearings too, then that definitely suggests that there was an oil starvation issue. So talking about what's next for the car, well, first I just want to take the engine apart and really see what went on. And there's also other damage on the car, like the front suspension. There's a lot of damage, I think, on the front suspension, because both the tires were pointing in different directions after the car went off the track. So I also need to figure that out. So first I just want to figure everything that's wrong right now, and then I'll actually decide what to actually do with it, because the solution isn't just going to be as simple as putting a new engine in. And because if this happened to the first engine, obviously the same thing is going to happen to the second engine as well, if I just run it with the same oil system and everything. So I think I'll really need to figure out what happened and what went wrong, and then think about what to do from there. So I'll still upload all the videos from tuning the car and fixing the ABS issue and fixing the lifter tick. But later, when I get some time, I'm actually going to drop the whole front suspension and the engine and take everything out, basically, because the front suspension is damaged too. So might as well just drop the whole subframe and take out everything, and then actually have a look at what actually went wrong and take the engine apart completely. I was actually planning to rebuild this engine really soon anyways, but unfortunately now I'm going to be taking the engine apart for a very different reason. So yeah, that is unfortunately a part of racing. These things happen. So yeah, that's everything for now, unfortunately, but I think it's going to be really interesting tearing this engine apart and seeing what went wrong, because the engine hasn't cranked over since the engine blew, so it should still be in the same position where everything was when the engine blew. So yeah, hopefully that should be coming in the next few weeks, but this is everything for now.